So I got my first Leatherman about a year ago. Really, I'm way behind the times. Uh, I didn't realize that Leatherman's had one-handed knife opening because I've been living under a rock for the past 10 years or something like that. So, got this. I love it. It came with this nylon case, which isn't bad, but the snap stopped working. So, you can get a new one of these from Leatherman for about $10, which is probably a pretty good deal. This one lasted a year, and I think what killed it was me laying on my side and sort of putting pressure down on this area. I have wanted to try making a metal sheath for this, like Adam Savage has. I've seen his and a few other people have those where they slide in. So I wanted to try to make one, and now with this clip being broken, I figured now is the perfect time to make one. Now, I don't have a sheet metal brake. I don't have a lot of tools. I've got a hammer, and I've got a vise, and I've got, just really basic shop tools. So I'm going to try to make it with that. So my plan is I'm going to take this piece of ash, which is just a little bit thicker than my knife, make a blank out of it, that's the right taper, and hammer my piece of sheet metal over it. When Adam Savage made his, he scribed lines and did all sorts of stuff to figure out what angle to make the sheath at. I'm going to do it slightly differently. I've got my digital angle gauge, and I'm just going to put that, it's zeroed to the table. Well, then 0.01, zeroed again. Well, 0.01 degrees, that's going to be close enough anyways. And if I put that on here, to balance everything. I messed up measuring the angle. It's actually 7 degrees, not 2 degrees, but it's hard holding everything and having the camera and stuff. So anyways, so this is wrong. Now this is a taper attachment for my table saw. So I said basic tools, but basic metalworking tools. I've got some decent woodworking tools. So now I just need to set this at, hold on. So now I just need to set this at 2.5 degrees. So that's 7.5. Now if I do this, yeah, so now I'm back to 0. Or thereabouts. It's not exactly the most precise measuring because this is a little bit rocky. If you don't have a wiki angle gauge, this would be another way you could do it. I've got it set up between my taper attachment and my saw blade. I'm doing it this way to get the correct depth or correct width. I want it to get a little skinnier than this so I can have room to play with. If it's too fat, it's no good. So now I can rip a piece off, and that should be a good template. I have to do a little bit more trimming. Now I have this wooden blank, and it's a little bit too long for the knife sheath, but that's okay. I'm going to bring it over to the miter saw and trim the ends off, and I'm going to cut them at 3.5 degrees because this was 7 degrees here, so the end should come out, should be an equal angle between here and here. So, alright, I will get that cut. I have this piece of brass from when I worked at an antique car repair shop. It was a piece of some sort of tank that we needed to cut out, so we drilled the holes, cut out a rectangle, and I think we soldered in some baffles for some reason. It was sloshing too much. So I don't know how old this is. It could have been a reproduction or whatever else, but we had scraps left over. I saved them for probably 12 years kicking around, so now I'm going to try to turn them into something. So I'm going to try to mark out and trim this. Hopefully they're big enough. So they're not going to show up on camera, but I've got my lines laid out here. First I put this down, and then I rolled it, and then I scribed, and then I scribed again, measured out. So that will be the two sides and then the little return to hold it in. So I'm going to get the sides trimmed up and yeah, do a little trimming, and it should be ready to start folding. So I want the knife to stick down a little bit from the top. I've got it lined up about with those lines, so I'll make a mark there. And now there's going to be a little bottom return. Yeah, that's good, because I want to be, I don't want the return to come all the way up. I just want it to catch the bottom. I'll be able to adjust that later. I want to just catch the bottom so I can grab this part of the knife to pull it up out of the sheath. So I'll just mark that there. I'll just cut that off there. So now I'll trim it here and here. And then, oh yeah, the sides only need to come down to there or so. So these edges, these corners are only going to come down till about here. And then this bottom tab will get folded up to catch the bottom of the knife. Now, I could just cut those square, but I don't want a sharp corner on the inside as a nice stress riser. So I'm going to drill a hole at the inside corners there. Now I can cut to that hole and I'll have a nice inside radius. Now I've got this clamped in my vise. I rounded the edges on the bench grinder to break all the corners. Now I'm just going to try bending it over my form. So there we have it. I still haven't put a belt loop on. Adam molded his in, but I think I'm going to make a loop out of this scrap I have and try soldering on a loop. Yeah, I've got it all snugged up. It's nice and tight. Pops out. Locks in nice and snug. So this should be a pretty nice way to carry my Leatherman. So I've got the start of my belt loop. That's going to get soldered onto there. I also decided that I want to put a little notch back here so I can just grab that and pull it out. So I'm going to drill a hole here, then cut to it so I can have a way of just pinching it. So I can do that, as well as the finger slide method. Now I'm going to tin both pieces and all the connection points. So there it is. I'm going to try it out now on my belt for the first time. So it's a little bit, you can see there's some marks with a flux gun on it and stuff. But you know, this is just going to get a patina on it anyways, so I'm going to just let that wear in and see what it ages like. Yeah, so it works pretty well. I might need to adjust it a little bit. But there we go. So this is by no means perfect. Obviously, my folds aren't quite equal. There's a radius here from the leftover material, and I could straighten that out. But it's perfectly functional. So, and I like the kind of rough look. Like Adam Savage says in his book, every tool's a hammer. Don't let perfect be the enemy of done. So this is done enough for me. If I find out any other functional problems along the way, I might correct those. But as it stands right now, I think this should be good to go.